What's up, everybody, and welcome to 2024. As we begin the first quarter of 2024, the big question is, in regards to the housing market, will this year be any different than last year? Will interest rates continue to go down? Will sellers finally put their homes on the market regardless of their current low mortgage interest rate, creating more much-needed inventory? And if we do get more inventory, will house prices start to soften? Or will all that pent-up buyer demand cause another crazy housing market just like back in 2021? According to the National Association of Realtors, pending home sales in November were unchanged compared with October and 5.2% lower than November of last year. The reason I bring up pending home sales in November is that these sales will turn into closed sales in January, which should give us an indication of future activity. Also, mortgage rates had already started going down in November, dropping to 7.5% in the first week of November and ending the month around 7.25%, according to Mortgage News Daily, which makes it even more interesting that sales didn't increase. You would expect the drop in interest rates to cause buyers to jump back in the housing market, but given the still high home prices and super low inventory, it just didn't happen. Although declining mortgage rates did not induce more home buyers to submit formal contracts in November, it has sparked a surge in interest, as evidenced by a higher number of lockbox openings, said Lawrence Yun, the National Association of Realtors chief economist. When he mentions lockbox openings, he's referring to an uptick in buyer showings, which could be an indication that buyers are re-entering the housing market. They're just not ratifying contracts. Regardless, Yoon does seem optimistic about this year, with mortgage rates falling further in December, leading to a savings of around $300 per month from the recent cyclical peak in rates. Home sales will improve in 2024, Yoon added. So let's take a look at an article by Erik J for Bankrate titled 2024 First Quarter Housing Trends, Rates Begin to Thaw, and see if Yoon's optimism is on point. Let's dive right in. Martin asked several industry experts to identify trends for the first quarter of 2024 when it comes to rates, home prices, sales activity, and more. They all seem to agree that January will be slow when it comes to home sales, with activity picking up in February and March. We typically see housing inventory remaining low until February, then ramping up from March onward, says Lawrence Yun. Home buying and open house visits also ramp up starting in March. Rick Sharga, founder and CEO of CJ Patrick Company, agrees. Quarter number one is usually something of a reset for the housing market, he says. Prices and sales volume decline toward the end of the previous year, and January is often the weakest month in terms of pricing, inventory, and sales activity. He does go on to say that activity will pick up in February and March. I expect the first quarter of 2024 to feel like a continuation of 2023, with relatively weak home sales and modest price increases. Still, mortgage rates have recently dropped at the quickest pace in decades and will probably continue to decline through the first quarter, bringing more prospective buyers back into the market. Keenan Chen, Executive Vice President of Strategy and Growth for Clear Capital, thinks that potential sellers will actually choose to stay put and renovate rather than give up their super low mortgage interest rates, therefore causing inventory to remain tight. We may see more homeowners tap into their available equity this quarter to make improvements in place rather than move, says Chen. As for mortgage rates, as of December 20th, 2023, Bankrate's weekly national survey of large lenders puts the average rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage at 6.88%, which is much lower than we've seen for the previous several months. Greg McBride, Bankrate's chief financial analyst, believes rates will continue to go down throughout 2024. We've turned a corner with the Fed done raising interest rates, inflation coming down, and modest economic growth expected in 2024, says Greg McBride. This has been beneficial to mortgage rates as bond yields have fallen a full percentage point since October, and further declines are on the horizon in the new year. McBride foresees the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage rate averaging 6.75% this quarter. Yoon's prediction is similar, 6.8% for the 30-year home loan on average. Sharga also expects rates to fall between 6.5% to 6.75% on average in the first quarter. Sri Gantram, founder and CEO of real estate investment site Awning, predicts the opposite. I predict a slight increase in mortgage rates, potentially reaching around 7.75% for the 30-year loans based on current economic trends and monetary policies, Gantram says. When asked about sales activity and home prices, Yoon is once again really optimistic compared to 2023. We foresee 5.5 million combined new and existing home sales in 2024, up from 4.8 million in 2023, says Yoon. Days on market will remain swift at around 25 from listing to contract signing. As for home prices, Yoon anticipates a 2 to 4% increase in home prices across the first quarter due to the shortage of housing inventory. Rick Sharga says, we can probably expect to see up to 800,000 sales during the first quarter, with many homes continuing to sell briskly, often going from listing to sale in under 25 days. He doesn't actually specify an increase or decrease in home prices, but instead looks for home affordability to improve. Hopefully, with mortgage rates trending down, wage growth running about 5% annually, and home price appreciation at or below the rate of inflation. That being said, Sharga does not think that we will have enough new inventory to make a difference in the housing market for most buyers until rates go down into the 5% range. We are unlikely to see the supply of existing homes for sale rise appreciably until mortgage rates come back down in the 5% range, he says. Housing starts for single-family residences have ticked up a bit, so we may see a little more new home inventory, but not enough to make up the difference in what we would normally have on the market with existing homes. So supply will remain constrained, giving the advantage to sellers over buyers. Chen agrees with Sharga in regards to a challenging buyer's market. Mortgage applications have recently increased in response to lower rates, signaling there is still enough demand on the sidelines to continue the supply shortage in 2024. And then you have Yoon, who is really starting to sound like a Pollyanna. The worst of the housing shortage is over, says Yoon. I expect approximately 30% higher inventory and more choices for buyers in 2024. Okay, Lawrence, just because you say it doesn't make it true. Sorry, my cynicism tends to come out when I hear blanket statements like that. I think 2024, at least in the first quarter, is going to really resemble 2023. The rates are getting better, but I just don't see home prices going down, at least here in the DC area for good houses. Those houses that are priced right and show well, until we get a lot more inventory. If you missed last week's video, we did go over foreclosures and other inventory data, so definitely check that out next. Let's now take a look at Redfin's latest housing market update to see the current data. One indication that I do think is promising for the housing markets is the number of Google searches homes for sale that happened last week. According to Redfin's latest housing market update, Google searches were up 8% as of December 23rd compared to a month earlier. This just shows me that more people are interested in the housing market, which could result in more housing activity. New listings were up 12.2% year over year for the 4 weeks ending December 24th, the biggest uptick since July of 2021. This is pretty unusual for the end of the year, so it could be simply because new listings were falling this time last year. 27.4% of the homes sold in the first 2 weeks, up from 25% a year ago. 25% of homes sold above the list price, up from 23% a year ago. And the median days on the market was 39 days, down 2 days from a year ago. This all says to me that most of our country is still experiencing a seller's market. On the other hand, 5% of the homes for sale last week did have a price drop, with Austin, Fort Worth, Texas, and San Francisco having the biggest year-over-year price decreases. But as we know, real estate is very localized and these are national statistics. I know personally, I'm getting several houses ready to put on the market now in January rather than waiting for the spring markets. It feels like buyers are getting more excited with interest rates on the downward trend rather than the upward trend. So my sellers want to catch the wave of excitement. But you gotta remember, there is a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, with 2 wars happening across the globe and our own presidential campaign and election, which could throw all the experts' opinions right out the window. We ended last year with a video of a bunch of industry experts' housing market predictions for 2024. So if you missed that one, definitely check it out next. I want to wish you all a very happy new year. I wish you all love, peace, prosperity, everything you want for 2024. And once again, I want to express my deepest gratitude for your support. Let's make 2024 a great one. Thanks for watching. Bye!